Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I am Oluseyi Olujimi, a student of the California Intercontinental University. I'm going to be making a presentation on the Green Book Research Industry Trends Reports. This presentation is coming under the course Marketing Research in Consumer Behavior, and this falls under the week 3 discussion question. The faculty for this course is handled by Dr. Ashley Castle. Firstly, I'm going to expose you to the scope of this presentation. First, we are going to be looking at in trends-inspired skills demanded of marketing researchers today. We are going to be looking at emerging approaches to marketing research. Then we're going to look at challenges embedded in this adoption of these skills in market research industry. Fourthly, we are going to pick one of those challenges, and then turn it into opportunity, and that I call democratizing findings from social listening and intelligence to become a customer-centric organization. And lastly, I'm going to be telling you how I'm going to use the learnings from these studies for my research proposal. Now we are going to be looking at the trend-inspired skills demanded of marketing researchers today. The first of them is what is called multimodal research approach. Uh, Consumer behavior is becoming more complex to understand, and this model is saying that researchers should look beyond just quantitative and qualitative data gathering and analysis. Rather, there should be another level of data collection and analysis, and that is measuring the emotions of consumers with the use of the immersions neuroscience platform. This level of data collection allows researchers to elicit information respondents wouldn't have given out under normal circumstances. Also, we are going to be looking at the new consumer expectation post COVID-19. A barometer study conducted across 14 to 19 markets to understand consumers' sentiments and behavior reveals that to overcome the disruptions caused by COVID-19, brand must communicate their core values to remain relevant to consumers. You may want to ask, you know, as the COVID-19 period made them to forget the core values of those products, but that is what the that's the findings from the studies. Consumer wants brands to communicate their core values in order for those brands to remain relevant to them. Then thirdly, we are also looking at the transformation in consumer intelligence, and this involves adopting social listening and intelligence as an approach in determining and understanding what customers are thinking and talking about currently, that is in the now. When these methodologies results is adopted and the results are made available to all in the company becomes, according to the author, a customer-centric organization. For me, I will be deploying that multimodal research approach for my um, marketing research proposal. I'll be describing it in the methodology, and also it's like I said earlier on, it involves a layer which the researcher will measure emotions of respondents. Now let us look at the emerging approaches to market research. Uh, we have two approaches here. The first is integrating cultural perspective. This involves capturing the opinions of people you regard, as minorities, maybe ethnic minorities or religious minorities. This approach enables them to be heard, to express their views and opinions, and then it also provides an opportunity to gain a deeper insight into this group's lifestyle, who they are and what they are not. And secondly, the second emerging approach to marketing research here is the adoption of the social listening and intelligence, as an approach for determining and understanding what customers are thinking and talking about currently online. This is a digital-based methodology, and when this method is adopted, the results are made available to all. The company becomes, like I said earlier on, customer-centric organization. While these two approaches are important and useful for a robust research endeavor, I believe that the integrating cultural perspectives into research design, you know, calls for emancipation of the marginalized, neglected, and lesser, hard groups. What we're trying to say is that it's relevant for now, as the US and the UN are placing premium importance on neglected, marginalized groups. Also, this research approach is important, as it enables marketers to develop value propositions for this category of customers. It's a way of widening their nets to gain more patronage of their services from these groups. Now, what are the challenges in this trend-inspired skills? The trend-inspired. What are the challenges in the horizon for the marketing research industry? The first, like I'm going to zero in on these two approaches, emerging approaches I mentioned earlier on. The first one is a multimodal research approach. Just like I said, in the normal situation, get engaged in quantitative and qualitative data collection and analysis. But this model is saying that we need to go beyond that. We need to go into measuring consumers' emotions with a view to gaining more insight into what they want, what they like, what they are thinking. But the question is that if you want to adopt this approach, are the researchers ready to leave their comfort zone, not being limited to quantitative and qualitative research, data collection and analysis? Are researchers equipped enough to move beyond the usual quantitative and qualitative analysis? That is, do they have the skill to um, engage that third layer of analysis, that third layer of data collection and analysis, which involves emotional measurements, which requires Immersion's neuroscience platform? Do they have the skill to adopt that methodology? That's a challenge. The second challenge here is that concerning transformation in consumer intelligence, I told you earlier on that there's a methodology being adopted now, which is called social listening and intelligence, available, which is done online. And the author is saying that when you make the results of these findings from social listening and intelligence available to the relevant staff, all staff, the company becomes a customer-centric organization. Now, the issue is, will the management be ready to democratize such a venture? That is, will they be ready to share the results of such social listening and intelligence with staff? The second challenge there is that issue there is that, will the organization with a hierarchical structure be willing to pull down such limiting structures to embrace democratization of findings? That is, all those things that will inhibit, democratization of the findings. Will the company be ready to remove all those structures? I know that operation of hierarchical structure in an organization has variance with democratic culture. Then and lastly, would the company be willing to embrace open communication? Open communication in an organization in an organization involves top-down and bottom-up com, communication. What we are trying to say that when there's a democracy, when we want to democratize, the findings from that report, you know, open communication must be in place. Now I'm going to turn that the last challenge I mentioned. I'm going to turn it to an opportunity, and I've titled this one "Democratizing Findings from Social Listening Intelligence to Become a Customer-Centric Organization." That is, what can we do to turn that challenge into an opportunity? Now, when we're conducting social listening and intelligence, it's part of what we call defining the market and understanding the value expected by by consumers. Democratization of findings from this social listening and intelligence falls under determination of value proposition for customers by the marketer. This is a stage at which the organization should remove every obstacle that will prevent every staff from becoming a marketer of the organization. And there are a lot of things that to be put in place to de-emphasize the hierarchical structures. That is, if there is such thing in place, the organization needs to do away with it. Secondly, the organization needs to embrace open communication across the organization by encouraging top-down and bottom-up communication. Also, there's need for the organization to engage staff in an open dialogue about this new method, about this strategic renewal initiative. The organization should also make available to all relevant staff the results of the social listening and intelligence findings. Next, they should conduct a session to receive feedback from the staff on the results shared with them. You share the result with them. You need also to get their feedback so that they can have input into it. Then the organization should also put in place a seamless management information system to ensure that operational data and information are readily available as and when needed by relevant staff of the organization. The steps recommended above are essential for you know bringing about open communication within an organization. When there is open communication in a setup or in an organization, when it becomes a part of the organization culture, it enables the management to elicit innovative strategies from staff. Innovative strategies and ideas, come up from staff, and this will enhance the performance of the organization and also improve its profitability. Lastly, I'll be telling you how I'm going to utilize learnings um, from these findings. Now I'm going to adopt two things from from these great presentations. Now the first is I want to adopt the multimodal research approach. That is the model that says that we should go beyond quantitative and quantitative data analysis and move to a third level. At that level involves measuring the emotions of of customers using the neuroscience approach. I believe when this is done, the the researcher will be able to elicit information that customers under normal circumstances will not have given out. Now the next approach I'll be using for my research proposal is integrating cultural perspective into my research design. I'll be embarking on this. I'll be embarking on this because it's an interesting idea to, I mean, to bring the marginalized and neglected groups into, into marketing research, which before people never thought about. Yeah, if marketing is all about putting products that and services that consumers want in their fronts. If it's that's all about marketing, Why are we neglecting those marginalized, neglected, or less heard groups in our, in our society? Now, when we do that too, it enables the researcher to gain a deeper understanding about the behavior of this category of consumers. And furthermore, it's also when the results are out, it also enables the marketer to develop the appropriate or specific value proposition for these categories of human beings. And what I'm going to do is that we're going to make sure that the processes for doing this is captured in the methodology for the research proposal. And also we are going to ensure that when it comes to data analysis, the demographic profile containing this category of individuals, data will be disaggregated to reflect what this marginalized, neglected group of people are, what they are saying about the brand, what they are saying about the product. When this is done, we are hearing from them. We are hearing from people we have never heard before. When marketing a product. So the last part of this presentation is the references from the various, sources I prepared this presentation. I hope I've not bored you with this presentation. I hope I've not created more confusion. I hope you have picked one or two things, learned one or two things from this presentation. I want to use the opportunity to thank you for listening well to me. Thank you. You're welcome.